Hello everybody, going to get started here shortly. And yes, once again, I'm a floating head with my green shirt. Let me get the chat window out here. Chat. We'll get started shortly. Say hello, I'll say hi. Let's move this over. I'm not even going to try to pronounce those first two names. I'll call you Admain, Liston, Moses, Devstress, Lohith, Goud, Steve. That's an easy one. I can pronounce Steve. Robert, hello, unknown friend, Lua. We got JVS. How's it going, everybody? So yeah, we'll get started here about 30 seconds. Let some more people come in. All right. All right, let's get started. All right, so basically, for those of you who are new, this is a live stream where you submit your designs, whether UI, or UI designs, it could be logo designs, identity, they could be print, packaging design, whatever. As long as it's designed, I will do my best to critique it. And we will ask also the YouTube chat to rate each of these submissions on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. So it's a fun interactive thing. So how do you do it? How do you submit your design for me to review? Or it could be a portfolio as well. Check out maybe a couple projects real quick. Well, in the YouTube description, you click on the Discord link. That's the very first link up there. And Discord is this app right here that you see. And if you're new to the Discord server, you have to go to our news section. No, a role section, and you have to choose a role. Like if you're a front-end developer or back-end developer, then click one of these reactions. This will automatically open up all these forums. You click on feedback, and then you submit your design, and I will do these in the order which they came. So I already have a queue built up a little bit. Also, if you do want me to absolutely review your design because I can't get to all of them, you can send a super chat by clicking super chat right there, entering your Discord username, a certain amount, and I will review it, and it'll be thrust to the very front of the queue. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and get started. So I do have somebody helping me today, one of my admins, JVS. And if I click here we go. So last week we had, and by the way, thank you JVS for doing this. We had a super chat. Somebody sent a super chat after I was done doing the reviews. So I'm doing it first today. And this is it. Let's click on this. So here we go with our very first UI design review today. Oh, I should also note that today is Friday. I do these on Fridays, and support for the channel will help my alcohol problem. So, if you want to give me a margarita funds, then you can do that too. All right, let's check this out. Let's refresh this and see what's happening. All right. Okay, so before I start reviewing it, I'm going to scroll down to see what we have to work with here. Okay, so we definitely have some things that we can improve about this. So first off, the one thing that's throwing me off are these two blocks of content, how they're kind of encased in this purple sort of square. There's not much padding on it. There's two of them, so you have an issue with visual hierarchy where you're not really sure where you should be looking at first. All right, so I would either emphasize one or the other, and then if you do, try to set it up right so we have more padding, because there's such little padding between these elements right here. Looking at this, let me drag this off to my other monitor. It almost looks like almost looks like it's pixelated a little bit, this part here. The header's okay. I would probably bold this up just to separate it more visually from these. Coming down. Right here is a huge no. We have our recent videos, this title right here, so close to this separating element, and it's just way too cluttered. You got to take this thing and you got to push that thing way down. So if I take this and we do like margin top, don't do pixels, I'm just doing pixels here. And of course it's not working because something must be funky on it. Oh, there's already a margin right here. All right, so obviously you don't want that to happen. The way he has it set up, it's not working quite well. But you want to move that at least 50 pixels away from this element right here. These things over here, the way these come in, this is okay. I would get rid of the white border that shows up here. If you are going to have it, make the image, the thumbnail, smaller, a lot smaller, so it has more white space to breathe. Otherwise, it looks like a typical border from the old school days of UI design. This over here, this works pretty well. The way you have the text set up, so they're separated out, your 3 different elements, pretty decently. The scroll activated animations, they work. This button is pretty good. Maybe a little bit more white space still. I would prefer. So this is kind of off though because I thought this was, I thought I had a zoom opened up, but I don't. These are just extremely large in relation to the rest of the UI, so it's throwing consistency off. You know, this is a good scale for your nav items, your you know, in terms of size, of font size, but then we have this and it just jumps up massively. I'm not sure if I'm so much a fan of that, so I'd scale that down just a bit. Also, there's no padding beneath this space down here, and you don't want that either. You want to put padding or white space around everything. So we'll check this out real quickly. The glow isn't working here. The blue outer glow, definitely remove that. Too large, too close to your elements here. Scale this down. You want your elements to breathe. You want room everywhere, especially on this larger viewport size. This right here, it's a good scale on your mobile, but it's not centered. You have some sort of margin or padding that's throwing off the centering that you have occurring here. So definitely take a look at that. Yep, so that's that for our first review. What do you guys think this person should get for rating? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Let me know in the comments here. I'm not going to look at the comments, and we'll see how close I am to what you guys say. So you have about 10 seconds. Me, what do I think? He's doing some things right, some things not. So I'm gonna go with a, are you kidding me? Is this really not working? My rating system for some reason is not working. I'm gonna say a 5. So it seems like you guys are sort of agreeing with me. Maybe slightly higher than what I said. Why isn't this working? Oh, wait, I think I know why. I just have to launch something real quickly. I use something called auto key. So let's try it now. There we go, 5. All right, good stuff, got it working. Let's go on to the next one. By the way, thank you for that super chat from last week. All right, so hopefully I was able to help here. Let's get out Discord. All right. All right. Hey, thank you, X3ME. We'll get to you next. So, JVS, go ahead and get that guy's review. And we'll get to him after this one right here. All right. This one looks interesting. Let's refresh that. I thought there was an animation at first that occurred. Maybe not. Okay. So we got a logo here. Hello. All right. So let's click Explore. Very interesting. Okay. Let's check about. Interesting. I'll give my thoughts here in a second. Click around on this. Very cool interactions, at least. All right, so the resumes, this is presumably not quite finished yet, I would assume. All right, so about this, all right, so initially, you know, you have a little bit more space here, and it's kind of hard to read all this the way it's structured in terms of the type. Hello, I'm, you know, your name, and then everything's just separated out. It's a little bit hard to read this, so I would probably add your name here with I'm, and then, yeah, make it all the same style as this, and then you just add front-end developer, your location, or whatever. So the Explore button, we come here, again, in terms of, you know, the user interface, the animation that you have going here is very cool, very different, which is great, but I'm not too certain on this, and specifically people having to read vertical text like this. I know it's large text, but it's still a little bit hard to read. When we click on About and how that comes in, it's so tough sometimes to do a good review of these. Again, I like the animation. It's a little bit, that animation is a little bit janky here. But looking at this design specifically, for instance, this right here, this border that you have going here, completely get rid of that. You already have a line separating and creating your About Me container. So this border right here is completely not worth having at all. Coming down here, I would prefer more white space between name and personal info, just because you have a lot here on the left, but only half that on the top. So if you push things down more, it's going to be more consistent. For the rest of this, it's pretty good for this design here. For projects, again, this has a lot of potential, but there's just a few things that seem to be off from this. For instance, this section over here, you have like this middle orange area with this tiny bar, this scroll bar right here. It just seems like there's a lot of clutter unnecessarily in this area. You could simplify it a lot. Coming down, looking at this, I like the idea of these separated containers, the way you've done them. It's good colors. Like, I love this color combination right here. But the layout of this this panel right here, it seems like you're only dealing with a space that's this big, like this. You have this whole area. You might as well just center this area, and I think the overall composition and layout would be much more effective. So coming up here, yeah, this has a lot of potential, but I think there's some areas that may not make quite as much sense. Like, for instance, like if you're going to Explore, that stuff hides automatically and it's completely unused. You might as well just leave this stuff here, because otherwise it's completely empty. So it has a lot of potential. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this. What do you guys think on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, that this person should get for their rating? You have 10 seconds, or maybe 15. And yes, I am wearing a green shirt, for those who wondered. Let's see, what do I want to rate this? All right, I'm gonna rate this I think a 7, maybe 6.9 or so. Let's see what other people said. Yeah, it seems to be pretty decent. All right, just look at this. All right, cool. Thank you for the submission. Why do I keep minimizing Discord? All right, so was that the one I just did, or no? No, it wasn't. Okay, this is a super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat. I know we have had several come in. Once we get done with the super chats, we'll resume normal order of things. So yeah, let's check this one out. Let's refresh. Any animation? Nope. Okay, so that's fine. Let's continue on. Screw down here. All right. Very important businessman. Coming down here. Okay. All right. So I assume if I click services, okay. So it's like a scrolling sort of navigation. All right. So looking at this, the first thing I think that might be lacking a little bit. By the way, did I not hide this? No. For some reason, this is just showing up, this damn taskbar. The first thing that's kind of catching me and throwing me off is this logo, this little emblem sort of design. I'd kind of like to see that worked on a little bit more, maybe just made a little bit different. I don't know. For some reason, I'm just feeling it's lacking in perhaps relevancy or in some way, shape, or form. Like usually, if you have like a symbolism for your name, you know, it would be based on a letter mark perhaps, or something that's relevant based on, you know, if you're a web developer, how does this pertain to web development? So you want to see something that's, you know, you want it to be unique, and this does seem to be unique, but also relevant. Coming down here, the shadow that the soft shadow that you have here, coming down off the dev, along with this watermark background, which I think works well. Them combined, I don't like it. I think we could get rid of, I think the shadow would work without the emblem or the watermark in the background. But with it, both of these, you have to choose one or the other, in my opinion. It's not a huge deal, but it still works. You can read everything. It's fine, but that's just my opinion. Coming down here, one thing that's throwing off the flow of this design is, you know, notice all this white space here based on the type element, and then you have hardly anything coming right here between this element. So I would probably want to push this down just a little bit more, so this isn't so close to this container. Looking right here, the type is a little bit thrown off, especially with the extra wide letter spacing here. So I think the type could be worked on definitely in relation to this section. Coming down, I'm not a fan of this section right here for sure. You know, encasing your services just in this sort of black gradient with a blue drop shadow, it's just a little bit boring to look at. If you're going to try to do something unique with this, I mean, when it comes to listing services and like what you offer, unless you're going to do something like where each one has their own section with a big old full-on design, you could probably just stick to basics and just list them out more of in a type-based format rather than trying to make them in these blocks in this manner. If you want to go the card route, I would Google card design and get some different ideas on that. But the way this stands design-wise, I don't like it very much. Looking at this, you know, when it comes to the hard borders, I'm generally not a fan of those on the text elements. So I probably get rid of the border here completely. And again, you still want to be able to see where the text the text fields are. So if you make this perhaps, or you could just leave actually you'd probably be able to see them pretty easily because you have a shadow on these. But if we got rid of actually let me try to do that. Let me get rid of these borders. All right, so outline 0 or none rather. Sometimes I get my CSS properties all mixed up. Wonder why it has that emboss. What am I doing here? Well, either way, oh yeah, you definitely don't want to do that either. When you have it focused and you have this blue, I am not a fan of that either with the big soft drop shadow, the way you've placed it in this manner. So yeah, looking at this though as a whole, it has potential. Again, it's one of those ones that's not absolutely terrible. It's not absolutely great either. I think there's definitely room for improvement on this for sure. So what do you guys think on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best on this design? I feel like well, this was a super chat, so I sometimes I feel like I spend too much time reviewing, but if it's a super chat, I don't have any problem with that. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Okay. For this, I'm gonna say I think I'm gonna have to go the middle of the road approach with it. So yeah, we're gonna say 5. All right. Let's continue on. Who is next? All right. Let's see. Now, let me check here. I know I received, okay, just 2 super chats. All right. Let's continue on. We got an Adobe Xd Prototype, it looks like. Let's move this over. All right. They say, please review this ongoing projects. All right, let's see. Okay, so welcome to the home of young change makers. All right, so, all right. I'm just checking this out. All right, so my initial impression is large type, very large type that you have. I like the color scheme. Looking at this, let's see here. This is actually works pretty well. Generally, you kind of want to give people an indicator of some sort, or a call to action of something to scroll down to learn more or something around this area. Generally, don't like when you have like 2 columns or multiple columns, having your text centered in one of them. I would prefer to see like this part, like absolutely left aligned over here. Coming down, I like the design element right here. The fact that this overlaps, not a problem at all. You can still read it easily. It's not too crazy. It's just a simple circle. That works well. I do think these should be scaled down just a tad bit more, and more white space between each 3 of these elements right here. One thing that's kind of throwing me off with this background image that you have here, which is these thumb pins or tacks or whatever, the color is a little bit strange. Also, the type that you have here, it starts to break apart, the layout right here. This is kind of like a card design, but this isn't encased in anything, and again, the text is pretty large, and the tips and tricks and like the category, I guess you could say, of these posts don't really contrast enough with the title themselves. I know they're caps and they're they're bold as well, but this in smaller, this isn't. It's not enough in terms of separating those elements. So I probably make this smaller, tips and tricks, a bit smaller, so it's not taking up so much eye real estate or attention to the eye. The green as well doesn't really work well with these colors it's behind. So I would think about encasing these in perhaps a white card container, make the text more like black or something. Outside of that, I like this, very simple approach. It's 2-column section with a design. The send button being way far away, this far away from these text fields doesn't work too well. So I would definitely move that up, make it a smaller button. But overall, this is pretty solid. Of course, this is an issue here because of the logo with the gray slogan not contrasting well with the purple. So that you would want to fix that for sure. So yeah. Also, I'm not sure that this orange really works well with the purple. I'd probably make these white instead. And also, if there's nothing going over here, maybe right align the social media icons over here. All right, so what do you guys think this person should get as a rating from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best? For this, I'm going to say, let's think here. What do I want to give this? I'm just going to say probably like a 7 or a 6.8-ish or so. All right, so let's go ahead and reset this and continue on. All right, so next up is a portfolio website from Hawk. All right, let's refresh. It's loading up. Samir, this is a web developer, web designer. All right, let me click on this just so it won't be blinking the whole time. All right, so, oh, I can't go anywhere. I cannot scroll down. So that's a big no. In terms of usability and user experience, you know, you don't just want to have your name and your titles here. You want people to be able to go somewhere. Tell them to do something. Where should they go next? You know, give them a button to click or some type of scroll indicator if you have a scrolling page. But you don't want people just to rely on having to go to your menu. A lot of people just leave because they're lazy. All right, so looking at that, that's a cool sort of animation transition you have going there. All right, so we can click About. All right. Resume. All right. And portfolio. Okay. All right, so a couple thoughts here. The About page for your title, cool little watermark you have there, that's fine, that works. Push this stuff down. This 2-column section, push that down from your About quite considerably. Notice the amount of space you have between the bottom of this button and this area. This is what you should have right here, so it'll look better. The type overall is pretty good. Front-end developer and designer, maybe make that a little bit larger. Push this stuff down just a tad bit more, just to separate that out. I absolutely hate these damn Captchas. I hate them because, especially when they randomly pop up, like the thing where you have to click on the different things, you know, what do you call? You have to match up the image with what they want to see. Like, I hate those. I've never used a Captcha like this or integrated, so I'm not sure if they give you the option of disabling that. If it's just something that you click, it's fine. Otherwise, get rid of it completely, because you don't want to deter people from filling out your form here, which looks pretty good as it is. Looking at this, the resume, pretty good design here. Don't have a problem with much of anything here. This is good. Your portfolio. Very simple, just, you know, thumbnail-based gallery, and this works. So, yeah. So just that initial part, the homepage, definitely want to give people, and also a little bit hard to read. This web developer section based on this background should be darker so that your foreground type elements really stand out more so. So this should be more of an afterthought. Make it darker. All right, so let's continue. If this is a template, well, you know, shame on this dude for submitting it, because I don't want to waste my time, you know, doing template reviews. But anyhow, let me know what you guys think for a review of this, for your rating on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. All right, I have my rating in my mind already, so 5 seconds to get your ratings in. I'm gonna say like a 7.1, 7.2. Pretty solid. I really like this section, and the other sections are designed pretty well. It's just that homepage. So yeah. Dude, Shadman Manav, or whatever your name is, don't spam. All right, let's continue on. All right, hello Gary. I've been working on this site for a couple months now. It's a revamped version of the one I made long ago, made from scratch in Angular from a sketch prototype. Would like to have a review, your thoughts, and what you'd improve or add to the site. Okay, all right, so let's click on this. All right, let's get this scaled up. All right, so let's refresh this. See if this is based on Angular, by the way. All right, so actually, let me refresh this again. Okay, because I'm not going to use the translation feature because it screws up the fonts and the actual design. Because I was going to say what it was translating to is like it made it much smaller. It didn't look right. I actually like this size here for this title. Yeah, this works. I mean, it really sticks out with this white container here. Maybe push it down a little bit more from the type, just a tad bit. I like the logo. This works all very well. All right. Yeah, pretty solid so far from what I see here. Pretty nice separation there. A lot of people get the separation between their labels or their headings and the containers a lot, but this does pretty well. Good little kind of sections or card-based designs here. Pretty good. Nice subtle container right here. You can just barely see it, but it still works well. Very good card design here. Someone's calling me. 1 second. There's almost so much color though that it's a little bit hard to know when and where each one begins. Because notice we have now the one thing that may be making it hard to follow this section is the fact that these are just the same images being repeated. So maybe once they're different and the content's different, it'll be easier to follow because there is a lot of color though worked in here. Yeah, this is all solid. Nice. Yeah, all the design fundamentals are here for sure. And that's what makes the difference between this design and one from designers where maybe they get like a 5 or a 6 rating. This is definitely going to have a higher rating because all the design fundamentals are there in terms of understanding white space, contrast, and scale, visual hierarchy, all those important things. By the way, I'm going to be releasing a lengthy UI design course in the next couple months. So yeah, this is good though, very solid. What do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. All right, I'm going to say for this one, and probably like an 8.2 or so, pretty high up there. Very, very, very good. What did you guys say? 9, 9, 8, 8, 8.5, 9, 9, 9, 8.5. Yep, very good. Somebody wants to know if it's responsive, and it is. Good stuff. That's our best one so far. See if somebody can one-up them. All right, please review my adjusted website, nemrut.co. That unique domain extension .co, which is one of the first ones that came out, just reminded me of something. I have to write something down. There was a domain company who wanted me to do a sponsor review, and I forgot to respond to them. All right, so let's check this out. Was there any animation? We have a loading animation, interesting sort of skew, transform 3D animation occurring. Let's scroll down on this. All right, so the biggest problem that I have here is look at all the different things that are occurring with the layout itself. We have a fixed position background element, which in and of itself between this white and this sort of orangish color is high contrast. so it kind of, the fact that it's fixed is it's kind of throwing the layout. It's throwing it off. It's complex, and it's kind of just hard to follow. You have this border right here. Completely get rid of that border. Not a fan of borders for the most part on anything. We have this language selector right here, which is kind of pushed right up against this scroll bar. The scroll bar is being hidden by this fixed position nav up here. You got another border over here, further cluttering things. Probably don't need all these social media icons in a fixed position anyway. You want to simplify what you have here. The type on this section right here, again, you want to separate these things out space-wise a little bit more. You did it with color and scale, but I think you need to push down this type right here just a bit more away from this, and also push this learn more slightly down more, because you have a lot of space vertically to work with. And then the fact that this image is just like in this little square, it's like you have this really complex shape right here. It's just a little bit, just kind of throwing me off the way that is done. So I might think about simplifying this, get rid of all the purple stuff, or the orange design, and just maybe make it a watermark, maybe make this very light gray perhaps, so there's not so much complexity occurring here. Other than that, these are good card-based designs that you have here. All right, so what do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. You have 10 seconds. Wow, time has flown. It's already 37 minutes. Oh yeah, what am I gonna rate? I haven't even thought about it. I'm gonna say for this, for me, it's almost the middle of the road again. You know, because it's not the worst I've ever seen. It's not the best I've ever seen. So I'm just gonna have to go with my gut here. I know we're getting a lot of very similar ratings. I'm gonna say 5. All right, thank you for the submission. All right, let's check out the chat. All right. So again, we have about 22 more minutes that we're going to be doing this. If you want me to get to your review, send a super chat, mention your Discord username. We'll get you to the very front of the queue. Let's continue on though. Please review my personal portfolio / design freelancer website. All right, wait a second. This is Wix. Wait. Oh, okay. So we have 2 here. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not skipping anybody. Wait, now, can somebody tell me in the chat right now when it comes to Wix, because I've never used Wix. I'm so sick of their ads on my videos, although they're paying me, right, automatically through the YouTube ads, but how much can you customize their templates? That's what I want to know. Because I'm not too sure I want to review a Wix site if they're all just mainly just template based. There's crickets in the YouTube chat. Well, you know what? It looks like you can customize these to an extent, because I do see issues with this. So, I mean, it looks like it is customized. Like, for instance, I can't imagine that they would have, I don't know. I mean, Dragon, I'll check to see if I skipped one. I'm reading the comments. There is a number of issues with this, but again, when it comes to Wix, I kind of don't want to offer feedback just because Wix may be very inflexible in terms of what you can do with their design system. So I kind of don't even want to get started with a review on this if you're using Wix. honestly, if you're interested in UI design, you should be using something. You should be prototyping first, like in a mock-up software, you know, something like Adobe Xd or Figma or whatever, and then learning HTML and CSS, and then going in. I'm not sure though if Wix really allows you to do that. So again, there's some things happening right here, but definitely some things happening wrong, like this element going overlapped like this with the drop shadow. It looks jagged. It doesn't really look that great. So I would change that up. You have a shadow placed on this you know, this or not a laptop, but the monitor element, and it's just kind of floating there, and it doesn't look very good. These are cut out and they're jagged, so you can see like the pixelization occurring on them. You definitely don't want that either. A lot of outer glows and shadows that don't look good. I would definitely change that up. You would be the perfect person for my upcoming course that I'm releasing to really help you get started from scratch. So yeah, definitely check that out. I'm not going to bother with a rating on this one. So I think I'm going to have a new policy going forward. No Wix sites. All right. Did I skip some of these? Mr. JVS, what is happening here? I'm hoping I'm not skipping people. Well, technically, I didn't tell him how I would prefer to get this done. Let's see here. All right, I already did that one. I did this one, right? Preferably, I would only have like one website here, and then just delete the other ones. So I only have. I don't want to screw anything up. So, okay, I'll just do this one. All right, let's continue on. Okay, I got it, JBS. Thank you. When is the course release? I'm not sure. Hopefully within a couple months. All right, so let's continue on. Was there any animation? Yeah, just kind of slight, you know, very subtle. It comes in. Tools I use: Visual Studio Code, Figma. All right, we'll get to this here in the review context shortly. Coming down here. All right. Okay, so this area is just a little bit boring. That's what I gather from it. It's just a little bit boring. You have all this space here, especially at the bottom. So the first thing I would do, if you were just to only use these elements that you have here, center these within this container vertically, so that you don't have just this big old empty space down here. That's the first thing. Second thing is the little post-it notes they have here, with technologies and tools I use. Make them more interesting. Maybe make them a little bit bigger, maybe perhaps overlapping each other. This right here, this section, maybe encase this in a container that's this big and make it slightly lighter than the background. So you have a little bit more of a layout and a structure occurring here, because it just seems a little bit sparse. Coming down here in this area, definitely not a fan of how you're adding the drop shadow here on these image-based thumbnails. It just seems to clutter it a little bit, and it's unnecessary. Jim, website designs, again, the drop shadow, the way it's applied here, and the box shadow, it's just not ideal. There's something going on with the type too, where it just seems a little bit fuzzy as well. Looking at this section, I hate that this is my wife's email that shows up. Great, thank you, Chrome. Again, just a lot of drop shadows, soft drop shadows they have. I don't think it's really working too well the way you have it in this context. And the amount of color that you have here, you have this orange with the white, with the yellow, kind of makes it hard to follow. Just a lot of stuff is happening here. So I would look to simplify that. Stick to like, some like one color ideally in that section. All right, so what do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best? Wow. Less than 15 minutes. Crazy. For this rating, I'm going to give it probably, I'm going to have to say, yeah, close to 4 on this. Thank you for the submission, though. Again, buy my course when it comes out. All right, let's continue on here. All right, coming up next is fatalities. Thank you for the super chat, Adroit. I think you're a previous super chatter, aren't you? Awesome stuff. Okay, was there any animation? Let's see. No. This logo is too big for this container, so scale down the size of the logo so that it gives it more white space. We have this section here. Sometimes having like a splash image or a hero image with nothing in it or a section will work. And I think it's okay in this context. If this was larger and you had no text or content inside of it, I would say that's wrong, but this isn't too bad the way it's set up. This section right here, let's see. Wonder if I should translate this because I have no clue what's happening. Okay. Okay, so one thing I wouldn't do is a fixed position on here because it makes it quite hard to read and follow these little cards that you have. You can do that if you drastically decreased the the contrast of this image so that it's barely noticeable anyways that it's a fixed image. Otherwise, position it in such a way that if you're going to keep this, still I would even say it's still too hard to read. So definitely, no matter what you do, fixed or not, make it darker so that you can see this type. Nobody can't read it, but a lot of people are gonna have a hard time looking at this and seeing this, especially with the white borders you have going around. That's taking attention away from the truly important stuff, which is the type. Again, issues with reading things because you have a lot of type in the background. Squash that way down in terms of the contrast, or not the way down, but you know what I mean. Make this a lot darker in the background. Not a big fan of all the borders here. I would rethink that possibly. If you are going to keep them, make this send button first cursor pointer in CSS so that it changes to a pointer, but also make it black and make the text white so it separates the fact that this is a button visually with the actual text fields. All right. So what do you guys just think that this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best? Let me know. Also, in terms of ad copy and type, just having like about, I would use something more unique there too. All right, for this one, I'm gonna say a rating of, again, kind of middle of the road for me. I'm gonna say a 5, and I think a lot of you agree with that. All right, let's continue on. So we had that super chat right here. Thank you very much. Wait, what? What happened? Wait, this is, okay, extract first. The goal is to make a website with anything, but you may have to bump it up to 50%. Why am I downloading a dev? Okay. HTML. Okay, well, this will work. All right. I'm not sure if there's an issue with loading fonts. Let me know in the YouTube chat if there's supposed to be a different font or something here. So I do see we have a bit of a parallax effect occurring here. One thing that we have an issue with, just looking at this for what it is the home, contact us, about us gets lost. Definitely, if you're going to have like a monochrome, approach, which is completely fine, you want to make your content stick out. Yeah, guitars, much more. So I would make these white at the very least. If this is the actual type that you're planning on using, I would consider something else a little bit different, just because it seems so, I don't know, just the default, Times New Roman type of font. So I would definitely, it may be because I didn't extract them, that's occurring. Let me do that real quick. 1 second. Well, I did extract them and this is still occurring. So the sparks right here, this should be much bigger in my opinion, make it quite a bit larger, not a ton larger, but still this is kind of hard to even read. So I would change that up. Right here, this image of this guitar, do something a little bit more unique with this. You have this whole container right here. Maybe instead of just having like a thumbnail picture of a guitar with a picture frame around it and this little drop shadow, make it a background image, a part of this entire section. And maybe move acoustic guitars over here. That way you can see the whole acoustic guitar on this section. Right here, there's no space between these two paragraphs, so it's hard to read. Unnecessary border right here separating this, I would probably change that up as well. I would probably follow the same format of just putting this guitar like as a background, maybe perhaps even a watermark with this bass guitar. And so yeah, there's definitely a lot of improvement. I think type is the biggest issue, as somebody's mentioning. So I would fix that up. And again, it's so hard because it's like technically making these changes is very simple, but so it's all about aesthetics. It's about visual and having that eye for UI design. And again, that's what my course is going to be about big time. One of the things that you could do in the here and now, look at other designs as much as possible. Oops, I hit my microphone. And try to look for maybe monochromatic web design galleries or something like that, or website examples. Again, I think the type is the biggest thing that's throwing it off. So thank you for the super chat, and we'll do a review or a rating. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best, let me know what you think in the YouTube chat. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with those these fonts that you're referencing, so we're not sure if they're loading on local or not. So that, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say middle of the road again for what it is. If they are different fonts and that's what they're supposed to be, different fonts, then I'm sorry that they're just not loading for me, so I can't see. That's why you got to host this stuff. All right. Let's continue on. Please have a look at my website, still work in progress. Chadwick, yep, all right. All right. So definitely more of a, not of a high contrast color scheme with this kind of desaturated greenish color, I guess you could call it. Yeah, so let's see. First of all, this navigation, your navigation is very important. You definitely want to read those, be able to see them. I would make these white so that it contrasts the most. you know, let's see here. Where's the CSS? So, color white, you know, look how much easier you can see that. So I would definitely change that up. I also did see this changes to blue, and the blue does not contrast very well. It really clashes with this green. So make that white as well, if that's going to be a permanent fixture at all, yeah, for all the sizes. I do like the type here. I like the call to action here and here. However, boy, you cannot see these elements at all. Definitely, if you're going to keep these, bump these up in contrast big time. You're not going to be able to see that. One thing that doesn't make sense here is you're using kind of like the skeleton UI framing, you know, technique of this text, but you're not here, and you're not there. So stick to one or the other, in my opinion. Coming down here, I like this section, pretty solid. A lot of white space. The cards are very well designed. I like them. This works. I like the type here. Very good in terms of separating everything out. That's called good type in visual hierarchy. So you're doing good there. Yeah, this is solid. Yeah, very, very, very solid overall. Just a few things with this section up here. But yeah, what do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. I'm going to say very close to an 8. Yeah. And I think you guys are agreeing with that. So good stuff. All right. We're going to do one more and we'll be done. Because we're at, yeah, just a few minutes from, yeah, it's been over 57 minutes. All right, so we're an open source nonprofit development studio working on projects for creators and beyond. All right, was there any animation? Just want to check. Nope. All right. All right, so not much of a structured layout. Everything's just kind of centered. Works for mobile, definitely. But it would be nice to have more of like of an actual layout for desktop and such. This right here, while it's definitely unique, I'd like to see these tentacles be more of an afterthought. So maybe more of like a watermark in the background so that more attention is drawn to your social media icons. Gets real cluttered up here as well. Again, that's another reason for, you know, not making these orange, but making them like a slightly lighter than the background color. You would still be able to see them, but they're more of an afterthought. These cards being absolutely orange, you know, pretty bold. The more I know you're trying to be more different, so you can get away with it. So it has potential. I think in this section, I like this card a lot, but things are kind of cluttered up. So I would space things out a little bit more to make this area easier to read. See updates. These buttons are real big in relation to the titles and such up here. So I would scale down these buttons by about 40% from what they are. A little hard to read this section. We have all this type that's added, you know, real close to each other. So again, just scaling, you know, separating them out, scaling things down perhaps a little bit will help with that. Again, notice how close, you know, the first person is in relation to this section and this right here. So it's very cluttered in this area. So again, just spacing will help a lot. Notice the amount of space between these two elements. That's better, but up here there's no spacing practically. So just small things like that could definitely help. What do you think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Let me know. And we've passed an hour. I'm going to say, for what this is, more of a, yeah, maybe more of like around six-ish or so. Definitely could be bumped up a couple of points just by making changes to a few, like the issues with the spacing and the scale of certain things. All right, but that's it. Thank you, Mr. JVS, for taking on the task of getting these all in order for me. Thank you to the Super Chat people who sent in money that I will spend on alcohol later tonight, and everybody else for participating. Awesome, awesome stuff. Make sure you guys idle and join up in the Discord server. Hang out in general. I'm usually there causing issues like I was earlier today. But yeah, good stuff. I will see you guys next time. Probably do this maybe 3-4 more weeks out. Just because it seems like they're most popular when I do it maybe once a month as opposed to weekly or bi-weekly. All right, I'll see you guys